Welcome to the 8th show in our series of Touring Texas Songwriters with our host, the Long Tall Texan, Mr. Bruno Michel. Today's show features Texas legend Bob Livingston and is brought to you by the Barrel Brewing Company and the citizens of historic Salado, Texas. Bob Livingston was recorded live in front of a studio audience for broadcast on Country Radio Switzerland. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the songs and stories of Bob Livingston.
All right, today I want to ask one of these 200 people, does anybody not know Bob Livingston? Okay, shame on you. We're talking to a legend of the Cosmic Austin scene from way back in the early 70s. Bob played with Michael Murphey when he didn't even have the Martin in his name. Jerry Jeff Walker, you were one of the first members of the Los Gonza band, together with Gary P. and these guys. I mean, that man is simply legendary. You can say that without even exaggerating anything. So welcome, and thank you very much for taking part in our shows. As usual, we will have a radio show out of that. We'll have a magazine article and obviously the video that's coming out in a few weeks. And we appreciate very much that you are here.
Thank you,
Bob.
Bruno. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Great. Let's start with a song, I guess.
Okay, this is for all you original spirits out there, wherever you may be tonight. She lives down south where the rivers age, goes back to the original spirit. And the India ink is flowing over the page, down to the original spirit. And the rhythm of life is still young, and she is one among the original spirit. And every morning she walks out to the holy ground where the ancient music is playing. She begins to sing as the rain falls down, like 1,000 voices were praying. And then the clouds have all gone, and her light shines on, and her original spirit. And I need to know that I'm a part of that original spirit. I need to know it. I just need to know it. Where my aim is sure, and I ride that royal road. Yes, I know the truth. Well, I know it when I hear it. And it's original spirit. So take me down south where the river's age goes back to the original spirit, and the India ink is flowing over the page down to the original spirit, and the rhythm of life is still young here in Salado, Texas, and we all at one with the original spirit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now let's travel back in time a little bit. Can you remember your first song you ever wrote and what it was about?
Oh, man. God. Well, I think it was, I think this is it. I don't know what it was about, but it's maybe the one that was about something was I had a girlfriend, her name was Penny, and so I wrote a song called Small Change Only, and it said, the moon is high and so am I. And, I had no idea what being high was at that time, and but I was just a kid. But I started out on a ukulele and learned that. Somehow I could play it. So
yeah, that was what I was waiting for. Penny's story.
Yeah.
That's always fun. Now you're on the road for about 50 years now, or even more.
Yeah.
You ever think about retiring? Or
Oh, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as retiring. Yeah, I see these people that musicians that retire, and I don't know how they do it. I'm not in a position to retire. There'll never be a retirement. I mean, look at Willie. I mean, he's a millionaire, and he's still up there. B.B. King, Paul McCartney, all these folks, they just love to play, and I do too. And as hard as it may be, going from place to place and still keeping the schedule that I do, I really love it. So probably I can't see a retirement.
Yeah, and then what would you do? Like Willie said, all he does is play golf and play music.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Why would he retire from anything?
Exactly.
But you also travel a lot over to India because your son's over there, and those extensive travels and all the miles you put in here between gig and here and gig and there. Is it that starting to bothering you, or is it just something you consider part of the job?
I just came back from India, and I was in Pakistan last year, and that part of the travel is extreme, and because you're sitting there that one of the legs was maybe 16 or 17 hours of sitting there, and so when you get to wherever you're going, you're so spaced out and massively jet lagged, and it takes you maybe 10 days to 2 weeks to get over that. And if you're like the State Department, all these were State Department tours, and by the time they give you maybe a half a day to acclimate, and then you're on the road. So you're kind of spaced.
Getting hard a little
out,
bit, yeah.
For sure.
So the local miles and miles of Texas doesn't really bother you too much then?
It used to be that I could drive maybe 8 or 9 hours, still play a gig, but I'm up to 5 hours is about maximum, 5 or 6 hours. I just came back from Arkansas, and it took me. I just gave myself 2 days to get there. So I stay in Dallas for the night, and then I drove into where was I? Bella Vista, but I got there. I didn't have the gig until the next day, but I woke up there. So I can go for a walk and kind of acclimate. It's hard to like 5 or 6 hours and then have to play.
Getting used already. All right. Well, since you didn't have to travel too far, let's play another song.
Okay. Well, and this is, we were talking about, I got a chance to I know you told me not to talk about tax dollars so early in the show, but I got a chance to play for the State Department, and I went to India and I met a Fulbright scholar who told me about this program the State Department had, and they sent American artists and musicians and poets and dancers all over the world, and maybe I could get a gig. And this guy was a legal aid specialist, and his name is Frank Block. And so I contacted the state. I was in India when this happened, and I contacted the State Department in New Delhi, and they told me to get to the nearest consulate, and and in my case it was Madras at the time. Chennai is the name now, but it was Madras, and went there and talked to the State Department guy, and I told him what I wanted to do, which was a history of American folk and country music. And that's why I thought that maybe I have a program that would be different, and I could teach people how to yodel and do some old cowboy songs, which I did, but I was trying to explain it to him, and I played a couple songs, and he never said a word. And John Inman was also with me at this point. And so we were auditioning. John, the great guitar player, old friend of mine, he was also Los Gonzo. And halfway through maybe the third song, the guy had been non-committal up to this point, just staring at us. And finally, he just stopped me in the middle of this third song and said, "Do you mind?" And he reached down behind his desk and pulled out a banjo. And he said, "I've been waiting for you to walk through this door for a long time." He said, if you come back next year, I'll put you on the road if I can sit in every once in a while. So I did, and we went out on the road and we played, and John left, but since my wife and kids were there, I just stayed, and I was playing with Jerry Jeff at this time, he would do a solo tour or whatever, and I would go off to India and do these solo State Department tours, and I got to play with all these local musicians on their indigenous instrument. We called this music country and Eastern music, or ragabilly. And when I came back to Texas, I just loved the sound, and I wanted to put together a group that we could maybe duplicate that sound. And I had plenty of cowboys around, but I needed the real Indians that could play, tabla, a sitar, sarod, and I found them. They also worked for Dell, but these were genius musicians, and we put together this group called Cowboys and Indians. Dots, not feathers. Sponsored by Texas Commission on the Arts and the Austin Arts Commission. We play. That's your part. Some cowboys and Indians came riding across the sands of a blood-red painted desert, lone equestrians. Sometimes red is black and black is white. Mortal colors vanish from your sight, but not the cowboys and Indians. Visionary drifters on a timeless caravan. sticking close together when things get out of hand, sharing in an unspoken word that each and every one of us has heard. Cowboys and Indians. Here's your part. Sing it again. Sacred, almost holy, they were here before me, and carry on. One more time. Through the lost horizon went into disguise and carried on and on and on and on. And they're never without focus. They're never without focus. Always on a sacred trail. And it's absolutely guaranteed their steps will never fail. Oh, the wheel is turning, even standing still. And the wisest men know never to reveal. Cowboys and Indians, yeah. Cowboys and Indians, cowgirls, cowboys and Indians. Here's your part. Yodelay. That's your part too. An Indian. Oh yeah. All right, thank you. Cowboys and Indians.
Pretty good. Now, when you were in California, you had a deal with Capitol Records that fell through, and so you moved back to Texas and you hooked up with Murph. How did that go?
Well, you know, I'm from Lubbock, Texas, and I went to Lubbock High School. Texas Tech is in the national playing for the national championship on Monday. And so I went to Tech, and so I'm excited about that. So I got a Lubbock background. I had Miss Honey for English. That'll be important later on. Actually, it's important right now. I don't know if you ever had a Miss Honey in your life that try to teach you you ever tried to wrap your mind around the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer? You know what I'm talking about? One that the prilly with the sure sota, the droot the march has pierced to the rota, and by the vein in swish leku. Why would you have to learn that? I couldn't.
Right.
Now, do you kind of understand that? I mean, it's a little German, a little Swiss.
No, it's like the Old English.
The Old English.
Thing. Yeah.
It's called Middle English, and it's, you know, so why Miss Honey was trying to teach us that, I don't have no idea. So I didn't know what to think about her, but when I found out that at the beginning of her career as a young honors English teacher, she taught Buddy Holly.
Whoa.
Buddy Holly, senior English. Of course, I pestered her with questions. Where did he sit? And she said, over by the door, Bob. So I sat in Buddy Holly's desk, and they had been bolted to the ground all these years, and so I knew it was his desk. And when I sat down, it was pretty vibey. I just got to say that. There was a vibration going on, and I kept thinking he was going to come to me and give me some insight. And in fact, he did. I channeled Buddy Holly, folks. I channeled him. And he did come to me and gave me insight and a new way to look at the Canterbury Tales and a new way to see the songs that he wrote, like Not Fade Away, in that very class. Right across the aisle from him was this really pretty girl, and he just didn't know how to talk to her, so he wrote Not Fade Away. Love is real, not fade away. So, you know, but the best piece of advice Buddy gave me was to get out of Lubbock. Get out. So I did. I took off for the Wild West and made it as far as Red River, New Mexico. This was the summer of 1969, and I was playing in a club, and down the street I was told there was a band. I needed to go hear them, and they were a trio from Dallas called Three Faces West. They had their own club, Rick Fowler, Wayne Kidd, and this wise ass named Ray Hubbard. He wasn't Ray Wiley yet. He was just Ray Hubbard. And they were great. They were funny. It was like, for me, it was one of the, you know, cathartic major moments in my life as a musician. Guys that were, you know, a little older, but basically my age, that were doing what I wanted to do. And they played songs by people that, I mean, I was a Brothers Four guy, Gordon Lightfoot, you know, Little Pete Seeger or Woody Guthrie, but I had never heard the songs they were playing. Johnny Vandiver, Keith Sykes, Tom Rush, and if they would do a Gordon Lightfoot song, it would be like this obscure, you know,
totally different,
deep cut from one of his albums, and they were just fantastic. But the songs that really struck me were by this, also from Dallas, young songwriter Mike Murphey. This was before he was Michael Murphey. He wasn't even Michael Murphy. He was Mike Murphy. And he had disappeared out into the wilds of Los Angeles, and nobody knew exactly where he was. But I had learned, he had already written Wildfire. And I learned that and a couple of other songs, and I just thought, God, man, this is fantastic stuff. And so I went into my repertoire, and I kept moving out west and I got to Los Angeles, and I got a record deal, like you say, on Capitol Records. They gave me just enough money to buy a Datsun pickup truck and a Martin guitar. And I was driving down this dusty dirt road in the middle of Los Angeles one day when the hand of fate just kind of came out of nowhere and steered my Datsun over the side of the road where there was this hitchhiker. And I don't recommend any of you, to stop for hitchhikers, but if I hadn't have stopped, I wouldn't be beaming live all over the world on this television show right now. Such an impact it had on me. And we traded each other our life stories. And mine lasted about 2 blocks. Not much happened to me. But this guy, he was from Austria. He worked on foreign cars for movie stars in Hollywood, and he got bit acting parts. And finally he looks at me and says, you know, the only other Texan I know is from Dallas. I work on his Jaguar. He's a musician too. His name is Mike Murphey. I just thought, God, well, that guy became the governor of California, but we won't even go there. Actually, that's the only part of the story that's not true. It wasn't Schwarzenegger, but he was from Australia. He did work. He was who he said he was, and I gave him my name and number, never thinking anything would come. Say, if you ever see Murphy again. And that night, Mike Murphy called me up. Who are you? Why am I supposed to be calling you? What's going on here? And I told him about Three Faces West and Red River and learned his songs. I said, Murph, your songs are about as good as anything I've ever heard since the Beatles. And Murphy said, you know what? You're a genius. We need to meet. So we did, and that's how I met Murphy. And he lived up in Wrightwood, California, but it wasn't too long. I mean, I moved up there too, and we started writing songs together. We became good friends. My record deal fell through, so did his, and we decided there's only one thing to do, and that was to get back to Texas, which we did.
Perfect.
So,
all right, let's play another one then.
Okay, and so we get back to Texas, and you know, suddenly I'll just enter. This guy walks into our lives. We're at the Les Amis Cafe there on the near the University of Texas in Austin, and this guy walked in. First thing I noticed about him was his boots. He had the coolest boots I'd ever seen, and they were embossed, and he was wearing this 13 half-gallon hat, and they were walking towards our table. He had this cool embroidered vest and a bathing suit. And he walked up to our table and said, "Why, you look like a bunch of itinerant footloose musicians, such as myself. Do you mind if I sit down? My name is Jerry Jeff." So Jerry Jeff Walker enters our life and says, "I've got these songs I wrote up in Red River." It was pretty ironic. And he had written High Hill Country Rain, Old Beat Up Guitar, Charlie Dunn, these great. And he says, "I need a band, and you're the band." And so we made Jerry Jeff's first MCA record, had a LA Freeway on it. And we would go out on the road and play with Jerry Jeff for a while. And this is a song that Gary P. Nunn and I wrote that he recorded. And we were out in Santa Fe. It's a Texas two-step swing song. And if anybody... I got to change my... Yeah. It's called That Public Domain. I also want to point out that I've got this new record out called Up the Flatland Stairs, and more will be revealed about that. But Public Domain, it's the first chance I've had to record it all these years later of my own song. So, I got my irons in the fire down in Texas. Got me a toehold in Tennessee. I got my foot in the door of that California store, but I'm up to my ears in me. Don't be concerned if the song sounds familiar. Don't be concerned if it all seems the same. Just be concerned that your policies will kill you, and it's all just public domain. I took a bite of the Big Apple. Oh, yes, I dabbled in that forbidden fruit, you naughty boy, where they promised me points and they slipped me little bitty skinny joints. But I've yet to see me any loot from the fat cat in those high heel Gucci shoes. Don't be concerned if the song sounds familiar. Don't be concerned if it all seems the same. Just be concerned that your politics will kill you every day. And it's all just public domain. Let's play it, boys. Uno, dos, tres. Well, I sang in that Red River Valley. I drank wine with the poets in Santa Fe. Well, I ran with those darlings in Salado, like I ran from Snow White in L.A. I think I'll go and see what's shaking down in Bombay. Don't be concerned if the song sounds familiar. Don't be concerned if it all seems the same. Just be concerned that your politics will kill you. Yeah. And it's all just public domain. And it makes sense to get into the rain. Into the rain. It's been raining, you know. It's raining. It's raining, 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 rain. It makes sense to get into the rain. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Good old public domain. Now, when you practiced with Jerry Jeff, the rumor goes he had a metal tub filled with sangria wine.
A metal tub. Well, what happened was, see, when we made that first. In those days, you had to make an album a year. When you had a major record deal, 1971, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, all the way into the 80s, they had to, they made you do an album a year. So we had the first record that I played on, actually, that was internationally released was Geronimo's Cadillac, which was Murphy's album. So we did that, and then we did Jerry Jeff's Brown album with the LA Freeway on it, and then we it came time to do Murphy's second album, and that was Cosmic Cowboy. Mm-hmm. And then it was time to do Jerry Jeff's second album, and he found this, Lukenbach, Texas, little hill country town, and set up a world-class mobile recording studio there. And we came back, and he said, we're going to make a record here. And we couldn't believe it. We'd been in this couple of world-class studios, and here we were with Jerry Jeff. Jerry Jeff always wanted to record in the most primitive conditions he could find. And the first record was done over there on 6th Street. They had it was called Odyssey Sound, but there was no board like you've got back there, nothing. It was a 16-track Ampeg tape recorder in the center of the room we plugged straight into it, and they had these VU meters, and we tried to get a sound as best possible. And that's the way that record was made. We couldn't even, it was so involved to listen to a playback, we just had to wait till the end of the night to hear everything back. So with Lukenbach, it was a similar situation, except it was a really good recording equipment, but we were in this funky dance hall. And every day we would get out there about 2:30 in the afternoon because we'd stayed up all night. And Jerry had this galvanized tub, and he would be pouring this, wine in it and cutting up apples and oranges and grapes and stuff and throw them in there and stirring them up in this, and we'd drink have a little sangria and pick a few songs, and have a little sangria and pick a few songs, and then we'd say, all right, I think I know this. And he just wrote it out of his recipe, that sangria wine and a few others. And it was always different. Every time he recorded it, it was always different. It was just which did he want to say. Mm-hmm. And that's how that record was made. Really, the first record as well. He loved sangria, and he always had that galvanized tub. Big tub, made a lot of sangria.
Probably a good idea to play that, or do you want to play something else?
Well, I don't really know that. I do in my new band. I've got a band called the Lost Austin Band. It's just hilariously fun, and we do a lot of those songs. And but I have to have I still haven't committed all the words to, I was just, I love that sangria wine. I knew that. Mm-hmm. I sang that part. But the rest of it is a little intricate. So I don't think I would do that one. But if you want me to do a new song,
sure.
So I'll do this is called I Can't Get Enough of It. And it's I do a lot of house concerts and play folk festivals and stuff. And I'm out on the road. When you're out on the road, you really depend on good friends and kindness of strangers to put you up, and so you're not having to be so staying in hotels, spending money. And I'm feeling like I'm almost there. At least I know the end's in sight. Opportunity knocking everywhere, everywhere. I'm out of the tunnel and into the night. Beautiful sunrise up ahead. A million colors to the dawn. Planets in position, underlined in red. Auspicious beginnings roll us along. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. No, I can't get enough of it. But I want to go home. Bruno, I just been a gypsy way too long. I haven't unpacked in 48 years, at least. And Ramblin' Jack, he showed me the way to this song. full of beauty, adventure, and tears. Oh, the kindness of strangers, the kindness of strangers has no end. They put me up 10,000 nights. Anyway, my road is up ahead, just before the dead end. It's the green gate with the Christmas lights. Oh, and I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. No, I can't get enough of it, but I want to go home. Indian summers, you know, they never last. And there were questions answered, never asked. It all happened way too fast, just way too fast. And isn't it strange how the die was cast? And I'm feeling like I'm almost there. I won't miss the turn this time, you see. The magic of the mission up the flatland stairs. I feel like I made it to the head of the line. Oh, beautiful woman and children, yeah, they're waiting there for me. A house full of family and very best friend. Or am I only dreaming? Am I only dreaming? Is this just a dream? Am I only dreaming this mystery? I hope I don't wake up before the end. Oh, and I couldn't get enough of it. No, I couldn't get enough of it. And I still can't get enough of it. But I want to go home. I know it sounds strange, but I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Up the Flatland Stairs, by the way, great album. I think we played it up and down on our shows. It's really,
yeah, there's a lot of
cool.
good stuff.
Really good
All
stuff.
my
on it.
records just have a lot of different, you know, there's country, there's folk, there's some
Pretty
science
much everything,
fiction.
Yeah, you're right. Now, how does it feel to be one of the founding fathers of this cosmic cowboy scene in early Austin? I mean, part of the Los Gonza Band, Jerry Jeff, Murph, and all this stuff. I mean, you probably never thought you would even get there.
Yeah, I knew I'd get there. No, actually, you know, this is what they said when they gave me. I was inducted in the West Texas Walk of Fame. It's a pretty big honor, but I said if it gets me a gig, I'll understand it a little more. And so that's kind of what I say. You know, I'm still working, still playing. You know, and you got to get your name out however you can, and because there's a lot of people that don't know who I am, and I'll play in front of a crowd of people that have never heard of me before, and that's why I became a storyteller with all the State Department tours and everything, because they'd never heard any of these songs, or you know, they didn't even know who Willie Nelson was, right, or much less Hank Williams or any of those people. So I felt that I could put them in the scene, and that's what I tried to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about these awards that you just mentioned, or the Walk of Fames and all that stuff, I mean, of course, it's kind of important and it's an honor. Like I think tomorrow Gary P is down at the Capitol being inducted, or Wednesday. Sorry, yeah, you're right. And it is an honor, but what does it really mean to guys like you that actually just write out of their souls and want to get out there and play?
Well, like I say, if you can get a gig out of it, it's good. I mean, Gary really deserves it. Gary, for those of you that don't know, Gary Nunn is being honored by the Texas State House and the Senate.
And the Senate, yeah.
And in full session. I think there's only been two other people, musicians, that have ever happened to.
Kind of a lifetime achievement.
And lifetime achievement, and I'm going to go to it. Gary's been my old friend forever. We were roommates on the road, and I've always looked up to him. And, you like to be recognized. And so it's the West Texas. I was inducted into the Texas Music Legends Hall of Fame, but the West Texas, it's the West Texas Walk of Fame. Yeah. I'm even more honored for that one because so many, Buddy Holly started, and Waylon Jennings, a lot of, but it's not just musicians. It's like Dan Blocker, Hoss Cartwright. He was a Lubbock guy, and Barry Corbin, and so there's actors in it, and of course all the Flatlanders and Terry Allen, Joe Ely, all those people. So it's to be in that category. It's nice,
Yeah, because sometimes when you watch, most people don't even watch them anymore, but you watch the Grammys or whatever, then you start wondering what the heck is this about. And I think in Texas, all these, there are fewer like awards or halls of fame or whatever, and B, I think it's more directed towards the art than it is towards the marketing.
Well, that's true, and I can just tell you real quick when you mentioned the Grammys. Well, John Fulbright, which you probably know, John Fulbright, young singer-songwriter, he's incredible. He's a young guy, and he put out a record a couple of years ago, and nobody had ever heard of him, and he had a great promotion, 30 Tigers, those guys. They sent it to all the Grammy voters, and he was nominated for a Grammy. And the Luminaires, Mumford & Sons, Bonnie Raitt. There was all these people in the same night. He didn't win it, but just being nominated, his price went up 20 times just for the nomination. So suddenly everybody knows you and they got to get the record. And so it's those awards, there's an intangible benefit, but maybe it makes you feel good about yourself. But if you already feel good about yourself, then you hope that it gets
right.
You hope you get a gig out of it. I keep saying it. It's amazing.
Absolutely. You also were Austin's international music ambassador, and you traveled over 25 countries and spread the gospel of Texas music, Western music, and all that stuff. You're still active in that role, except India, in other countries?
No, like I say, last year I went to Pakistan. It's harder and harder to get that with I think the present administration make it more difficult. There's less money for what they call cultural diplomacy, and but it's also really hard traveling, and it's harder to get their attention. Where in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, the early 2000s, I played almost every other year. I did a tour. And so it's been a while. And like that Pakistan trip, I was supposed to do a whole tour of the entire region. And after 2016, after that election, suddenly it all went dark, all went silent, and I just went to the Pakistan. And then, of course, we had... The major gig I went up there to play, right before I went on, the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador came to me and said, "Bob, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but there's been a bombing at a Sufi shrine. We're not in any danger, but it's 4 hours away, but it just wouldn't be right to go on and play the show." So it was on the steps of the consulate, just big crowd of people. The party went on. We ended up doing a house concert for them, invited everybody inside, but It was. There's just stuff all over the world you just don't know anymore.
That's right.
What's safe and what isn't.
So you mentioned already the new project, and we get to that after the next song, because actually that sound gets a revival. We'll talk about that after the next song.
Okay. Well, this is this is called "You Got My Goat, You Might As Well Take My Dog."
Yeah, right.
This is a new record
one,
too, and I wrote it with Susan Herndon. She's a songwriter in Oklahoma, and I like to tease her, and she got, I think I stuck it in there and twisted a little too much, and I could tell that I got her goat, and I said, "I got your goat, didn't I?" And she goes, "Yeah, you might as well take my dog." And these little light bulbs went off, so it's a sing-along. Yeah, you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. You got me out on a limb, sleeping in your hollow log. I know that you need me, you don't want to be alone, but why won't you feed me instead of throwing me a bone? Yeah, you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. Well, now my dog is good, he's been living on the roof. You say that you love him, but he really needs some proof. You can bide your time, or you can start today. Pick up all the pieces, or throw it all away, cause the dog needs affection like I needed your love. So give me some direction, cause all I can think of is you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. He's a good old hound, he even writes my daily blog. Pretty good too. He's a lot like you, he's funny and he's smart, but he ripped up my bus like you tore out my heart. And you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. That's your part, let's all sing it. Woo! You got my goat, you might as well take my dog. As well take my dog. Well, now the times are changing and they're moving away fast. You can burn up your dreams, they were never meant to last. There's a light at the end of a very long tunnel. I feel like I've been looking through the wrong end of your funnel. I wonder if I heard you or got your reasons right. This whole thing hit me in the middle of the night, that you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. He writes teenage lyrics for my publishing catalog. Had a couple of hits too. Oh, I'm moving far from you where there's no one else around. Out of the city back to a one-horse town. And you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. Two more times out there. Woo! Yeah, you got my goat, you might as well take my dog. Big ending. Woo! You got my goat, you might as well take my dog. Oh yeah.
I think that one's on the new record too.
Yeah, that's
right?
on the new record.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned it before, the new project, it's not that new anymore. Lost Austin Band brings back that cosmic Austin sound from the 70s. And there is a bunch of actually original people in there, like Craig Hill is, and, Patterson.
Yeah, Craig
Barrett.
played on the Cosmic Cowboy album, and he also played on the first two Jerry Jeff, which was Jerry Jeff he's the one that plays that blazing lead on LA Freeway, and then he played on Viva Trilingua album too.
Mm-hmm. And then Patterson was on various.
Patterson Barrett was on
that.
that Brown album. We recorded some of that in New York. We recorded LA Freeway in New York City. So, and that's how we met Patterson.
And I heard that, like Jerry Jeff didn't want to have anything to do with the old days somehow, and he decided not to take a part in that. And
he just, Jerry's, he You can't say. You know, he's such a grumpy butt. You know, we don't know exactly. But Craig, it's really Craig Hillis's idea that we would put together this group and play a lot of those songs, and we'd do a tour with Murphey and Jerry Jeff as well, and we would play behind everybody. Well, Murphey was interested, and we've actually done some Cosmic Cowboy reunions with him, but Jerry Jeff didn't really want a part of it, and Craig said, "Man, we'll do it. We'll do those songs. People will still love it." And I didn't think that they would take to it as much as they did, but they do. You know, we've been doing really well. We're playing this Nakona Nights up there, I think next week. Yep. And then playing the Mucky Duck in Houston. We just played the Saxon Pub. So we're all of us have full-time gigs, you know, we're full-time musicians. And so to find a date that it's trying to get 6 people that all have separate calendars to play a gig is
especially
quite
Patterson
a chore.
Coming from Florida, so it's really
Patterson.
A
I don't see how he does it.
Jerry Jeff at this time, you know, he just did his new record, but what I heard is he also got another couple problems, so he needs to get over that. And Gary P was busy with his book and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have a chance to go and see these guys, the Lost Austin Band, then you got to do that, because all that stuff you're going to hear, plus a ton more, is coming from these people. I mean,
and we're learning
amazing.
more and more of our own original. I mean, we're throwing original songs in there more, but we do Cosmic Cowboy and London Homesick, and we even do B.W. Stevenson, My Maria. Yep. We do Willis Allen Ramsey, Northeast Texas Women. We do Stephen Frumholtz songs, Rusty Weir, Don't It Make You Want to Dance. So it's a lot of fun.
All the good stuff, absolutely. So that's definitely something. And I heard you guys are working on a record. At least Ernie told me that the idea was to have that out by the summertime.
You know, this is the first time I've ever heard it, but I like it. I like it a lot.
I think you wanted to have it out last year.
Yeah,
already.
we did. It's just finding that, you know, and I think that now with these new songs that we just had a rehearsal last week, and we learned 4 new of our, you know, we actually learned You Got My Goat. So that's in the set now. And Bill Browder's such a great, Bill Browder and David Murphey were in a group called Denim back in the 70s and 80s. They're still play, and they're just fantastic singers and players. We've got like 6 lead singers in the band and great players. And Bill's a great guitar player, and Patterson, you know, of course, plays steel.
And
keyboard.
Actually, during your shows, everyone sings a couple songs. So it's really, you get like 5 great songwriters performing in one band. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. On all your world travels, where did you find the most attentive audience? Like, why do you think it was right there?
Well, they were always attentive because, I mean, almost every place we played, India was really the furthest out, maybe the furthest in to me, and they were so innocent. For instance, I did this song, Don't bury me on the lone prairie where the coyotes howl and the wind blows free. I do that song about this poor young cowboy, and he's out on the prairie, and his life is oozing away, and his friends come out, and he pleads, "Don't bury me out here," but of course he passes on, and they bury him there. And after the show, and I teach them how to, I go, "Don't bury me." They go, "Don't bury me on the lone prairie, where the coyotes howl." And they start howling. I teach them how to yodel in the show and stuff. So they were just really right there with it. They'd never heard anything like it. And this woman came backstage once and said, "I very much enjoyed your program, but that song you did about that poor young cowboy, and you had to leave his body on the prairie. That is so sad. Tell me one thing, is there no way you could go back and get his body and take it back to Texas so it could be buried as he wished?" She actually thought that happened to me.
Almost spiritual.
You know, so that's the kind of people you're playing for. It's just, what do you got?
Absolutely amazing. So that area seems to be,
well, and I mean,
probably
I've gone to
because they don't
places
know
we
it.
may never be able to go. Syria,
Yep.
Yemen, I played in Yemen. We have a great, I have a lot of video. We're going to do the documentary. We've got like 175 hours of video of all these tours, and we're looking at it right now. And in Yemen, like we played, I did that Not Fade Away. See, you would play with these local musicians, and like especially in India, it's, I don't think it's going to work. Yes, did we play in different modes, different time signatures? I said, no, it'll work. I don't feel it all comfortable. Not at all. You just play that song yourself. I said, no, this is it. This is the beat. And the guy said, oh, you mean that beat? Well, I know that beat. And it's like Buddy Holly and Bo Diddley, they came up with the primal beat in all cultures. And once you play this, and they're playing along, then they'll play with anything.
They got it,
but that's the bridge. Mm-hmm. And that's the busting down the door, and then they're happy. Because they say, okay, this isn't as weird as I thought. So, but Syria, Yemen, we played in a college, art college, and was a young woman right in front of them. All the girls had on the burqa, the whatever it's called. There's another word for it. But anyway, you could just only see their eyes. And there was a young girl right in front of me in this college. They were all artists. And I said, this is a song by a guy from my hometown, Buddy Holly, and it's how big and how beautiful and how wonderful his love was for this girl in Miss Honey's English class. And this young woman, she went, yes! And that's the kind, all of a sudden, we're there, and so it's the State Department really liked me because I was doing stuff like we were breaking down bridges and we were getting people getting people's attention, and it was propaganda, but in the correct sense of the word I think is disseminating information about America and America's interests abroad. And then if you like this guy, we can get this, and this set up. So they're making inroads with the middle class and folks.
And it actually also proves that the music actually breaches cultures,
Absolutely.
It really brings people together.
No doubt about it.
I assume you met a whole bunch of extremely talented musicians on your tour. So
they're so... When we were in Oman, we played with the Royal Omani Orchestra, and it was these guys, these incredible players, and they're all dressed up, and the Sultan of Oman is a big music supporter, and he has several groups that he supports, and this was one of them. We were playing at the U.S. Ambassador's residence, which is like Fortress America, and we're doing a little rehearsal in the afternoon, and the leader, the director, was a Brit, and he was saying, I don't believe it's going to work. No. You just play a song. This won't work. And I say, and so the key that a lot of these people play in is C sharp minor, sort of, and they're going. So I figure out they're in C sharp minor. I say, just play that. So they're going. I go, Kalijah was a wooden Indian standing by the door. He fell in love with an Indian. So it's really not hard to find out, find out what will be common with us. We did Kalijah, and that night when we did it, there were these two generals, General Jones, who was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and General Zinni. This is 2000. So General Zinni is like the head of the Central Command, took over from Schwarzkopf, and he's the guy. These two generals and Louis Freeh, who was the director of the FBI, and they were doing a tour all through that area. And they're in the audience with their wives, and they just fell off their chairs. They said, "This is," and the generals came up and gave us medals and said, "You guys are doing more good for us than an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf. Come with us. We want you to play for our troops." And so we went to Bahrain and played for the American base there.
Pretty cool. All right, let's do another one then.
Okay. All right, what do we have here? Are we getting close? Do we want to wrap it up, or do we have a little time?
No, we still have time. Yeah.
Okay, we have some more time. All right.
I guess.
So I'll do this is called, but I might want to close with that. So Oh, this is called On a Dream with You. It's Eliza Gilkinson sings with me. This is the record that I don't have here today, but it's called Original Spirit, the record, and sold out of those and need to get some more pressed up. And it's just a two-stepper. It's country.
Really cool song.
Classic. The love that you give is love you never lose. It comes back to you in dreams that come true. On a dream with you. Life is simple and moving slow, like holding hands to the radio. And there's no other place we wanna go. On a dream with you. We're in love and holding tight. Now there is nothing we need sacrifice after all these lonesome nights. On a dream with you. In a villa in New Mexico, wearing your boots with your evening clothes, and the band is playing Zydeco. On a dream with you, baby. Sunset comes and we fade away in the refuge between night and day. I'll dream with you. Let's play it. Dream with you. All you have to do is touch my hand to rescue me from these sinking sands. And there's nobody else that understands me. On a dream with you. Indian ponies and western skies, wildflowers and coyote cries are all in the magic of your brown eyes. On a dream with you. You're a cowgirl in a rodeo, riding bareback, chasing down rainbow. And I'm the cowboy that you want to know, baby. On a dream with you. Sunset comes and we fade away in the refuge between night and day. I'll dream with you. Yes, I will. And the love that you give is love you never lose. It comes back to you in dreams that come true. I'll dream with you. I'll dream with you. Yeah, I'll dream with you, baby. Yeah, thank you.
Now, you mentioned the hundreds of hours of video that you shot on your tours, and some of that is actually online. You can look it up on YouTube. Are you planning more like a movie, or is it more a sequential, chronological episode thing? Or
Well, it'll probably be a chronological. We've got the reason we started. I got my son Tucker, who's in India now, learning Indian music, and I had done we'd done a whole bunch of tours with John Inman, and then John left, and I played all these things solo, and I did several tours and would get Indian musicians, and then Tucker, by the time about 98, he was a super guitar player, so I took him with me, and we went. We played India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, the Maldives, Sri Lanka. And then the next year we went back and did all the Middle East, ended up going into Africa and stuff like that. So the first trip we took on the way out of town, literally to go to the airport, it's just like, God, we never got a camera. That's terrible. Well, go to Best Buy. So we went to Best Buy, and I got, at the time, it was just a high 8, camera. And it was better than nothing. And I got the high 8, and so we videotaped that. And then the next tour, we got a digital 8. And the great thing about that digital 8 camera, which I still have, it will play all of the high 8 and digitize it. Mm-hmm. So then ended up getting a really good digital recorder for the, I think mainly for Africa. And we went to North Africa and but Central Africa, West Africa, went some gnarly places, but got a lot of video. So it's sort of consistently had something with us to document it.
So it could actually become a series almost.
Yeah, well, series, and we want to make, a woman that made Townes Van Zandt documentary, I can't remember what it's, The Singer and the Song or something like that. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it's called, but Margaret Brown is her name. And the way they got the Townes is they did a 5-minute demo. They just did as good as they could, and they entered it into a Texas Film Commission contest, and they won it. And they won something like $10,000. And then they hired an editor, a really crackerjack editor, who made another demo, but it was a killer trailer. Mm-hmm. And they were able to get funding from various sources to do that album. And that's kind of what we want to do, is to find somebody that's really edit it as well as we can, but you really need somebody that really knows. Yeah.
That could be something that's really interesting, to learn about the different music cultures and all that.
And the
stuff.
thing is, we're in places that almost don't exist anymore. Yeah. Syria, Yemen, Kuwait, of course Pakistan, but Pakistan is still, it's terrible what's happening over there, but the people treated us like kings. Yeah. And they were always friendly and always wonderful. We stayed with them in their houses. We never had a problem. I never felt, even in Yemen and Syria, never felt the slightest apprehension. And we were in the old cities, and the State Department people would just love to see us coming. They'd wear their cowboy hats and their boots and meet us at the airport. All right, let's go. And they were just, it was a wonderful experience.
Cool. Let me get the last question. Before I do that, ask you guys if you have any question, as we usually do.
When did you first realize that you were more popular overseas than you were here?
Well, the popularity, they had no idea who I was. At least some people here know. But when I first played the first India tours, it's the State Department is promoting it. So the place is packed, and we're playing auditoriums. And the only funny sidelight to that is they hadn't gotten their PAs up to snuff. And you were playing on this. There was a company called Arhuja, and I remember playing these auditoriums, and the columns were this big, and they had like 4 or 5 little speakers about that big around. So you sound like, And then when I went back, that's when I got a really good preamp, really good microphones, cords, and it was so archaic that there was like, these are called XLR ends. You plug them in, but in that area of the world, you had to screw them on. There was a contact point with a little piece of solder, and you screwed them on, and they made the contact. So I got those. I went and found somewhere. I had my own everything. I said the sound that I get off the stage is going to be as good as I can get it. Mm-hmm. And over the years, the sound systems got better. But we did. We were all over the TV, all over the radio. We did. You'd get to town and there'd be a major article in the Indian Express, and a lot of we were in Pakistan. I've got all this great press in Urdu and all these Gujarati and all these languages that we don't even know. But they didn't know what to expect. It's just the Americans are coming. We played a place called Vijayawada, which is on the east coast of India, and they could barely speak English. And for some reason, because a lot of, English is one of the national languages. Everybody has a little English. And we did an interview after the show, and the guy that did the interview had no legs, and he came in, and they put him up on a table, and he said, the first thing he asked, he goes, "When the Russians came, they brought dancers. The Americans come, no dancers." What's the deal? You know, and it was like, and I could just imagine the Bolshoi, you know, whoever it was, you know, and these, you know, these Cossacks dancing. So I said, well, sorry, and I just said, but we do a type of dance called two-step, and there was a young woman there, and John started playing the guitar a little bit, and I taught her how to two-step a little bit, but they didn't know who we were, but they always. Usually in my show, I never have I can just with the stories and the songs, even though they've never heard them, I can suck people in. And it was like that in India. And we would do a lot of sing-alongs. I taught them how to yodel, and they would all yodel. It was amazing. So,
yeah, talking about popularity is probably the wrong expression. The thing is, I think it's a generation thing. Old guys like me, if you don't know who Bob Livingston is, or any of these guys, for a matter of fact, then you just don't know Texas music. The younger people like you may not know people like him because the mainstream radio isn't playing these songs anymore.
yeah.
They're playing all that, I don't say the word.
Yeah.
That's actually right now on the charts. And hopefully things like the Lost Austin Band will start to bring that sound back into radio and back into the people's minds. That's one of the main issues. Yeah. Why am I the most happiest DJ on Country Radio Switzerland? I tell my DJs in Switzerland all the time, because I don't have to play the crap that you have to play.
Yeah.
I get to play Texas music.
Yeah.
And it's a difference, at least for me. So I think it's a generational thing, not a popularity thing. That's my guess.
And in a lot of those settings, they just want you to be good. The State Department is. I mean, I had to audition. I had to sell this idea and myself to a State Department guy who had never heard of me, and he saw that we could play, and he saw the value of it, because we did a history of American folk and country. And I took those melodies. I said, I will take these melodies that came over from, Scotland, Ireland, England, and they landed in the Appalachian Mountains, and new lyrics were written. And I do examples of those, and then they go out to the West, and the cowboys, they all put new lyrics to those same melodies. And we did almost an entertaining history of this. And they had never heard this stuff before, but they were right there with us. And so I think there's a way that you present yourself. And I'm really comfortable, on stage, and I think that's what they want to see. It's not like, okay, I'm a singer, be quiet, everybody, and I'm going to do this song, and it's going to have so much emotion and stuff. I want them to like the songs, but I also want them to have a good time. Yeah. And I'm an entertainer, and I don't mind being called an entertainer. Sure. And I get people laughing and
absolutely. Dancing. So. Let me get to my last question, and then we play a final song, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
Last question, as usual, and you know it because we interviewed the Lost Austin Band on the last Wall, Stock and Barrel, but you hopefully don't remember it, which is, what would you ask yourself if you were to interview yourself? That I did not.
I would say, Bob, how come you haven't finished that book yet? I'm writing a book for Texas Tech Press, a memoir. What is the deal? You started this book way before everybody else did. Why can't you finish that? And what's taking you so long to finish this documentary? Those are the questions that I would ask Bob Livingston.
What would the answers be?
And I have no good answers for either. But, it just takes so long. My book is much more involved because of the State Department tours, because of the world tours. And I have actually a journey within a journey. And I'm on a train ride in India, for instance. And that comes, it starts out in Texas. The next chapter is in India. Mm-hmm. And so being able to weave those two stories together, not as easy as it seems. And I've got 1 million stories. I mean, the story opens up. The first chapter is only 3 paragraphs long. And the last sentence is, I'd only had one other fight in my life, and that was with Greg Cobb in the 5th grade, and here I was about to strangle Jerry Jeff Walker. And the day had started out so promising.
Right.
So that's the first. And then the next chapter, it's like you're in
Somewhere
India.
else,
So
yeah, hard to do that.
Journals?
Sorry?
You keep journals?
I never kept journals that much. I do include some of the journals in my book. I think I'm going to take one of them out because it's so depressing. But you know, it's mainly written in an airport. I'm totally exhausted. My son is giving me a lot of trouble, and I'm writing all about it. And I wasn't going to put that in its entirety, but then I thought, God, this is depressing.
So,
But I didn't do it. I can remember somehow. You know, when Michael Murphey was interviewed for the Southwest Collection of Archives, they have a great program down there. I don't know if you know Andy Wilkinson,
Yeah,
but Texas
heard
Tech
about
has
it,
this
but don't know.
incredible program, and everybody's turning over their, tapes, their 2-inch tapes, masters and stuff, and they're digitizing everything and remixing it and stuff, and all your video, all that, they're doing that. And Murphy wanted me to be on his interview because he says, you can remember all that. I can't. I've made 50 records, Bob. Can't remember everything. But somehow it was so important to me, Geronimo's Cadillac is, it's important. And I know when I was writing about Geronimo's Cadillac, I tried to research. There's never been anything written about those sessions by anybody. Same way with Cosmic Cowboy, same way with Viva Terlingua. All those records, there was nothing written about them, so I'm as good as you're going to get,
Yeah, right.
unless somebody else puts a book out about it. So, but I researched it, and I could remember all that, and I talked to Herb Steiner, who did keep a journal. Herb was great because he's a steel player, and every gig he ever played or every rehearsal he has written down.
wow.
And how much he was paid.
It must be a whole library full of stuff.
It's like, yeah.
He played on so many productions, unbelievable. All right, cool. Let's play final song. And
Okay,
then-
do you want me to do something everybody knows, sing along with, or do you want me to close out with my barn burner? What's that? Say what?
The Cadillac?
Oh, Geronimo's
Wasn't
Cadillac?
there
You want me to
anymore.
do Geronimo's Cadillac? All right.
Or you do the barn burner, or you do both.
All right. Murphy and Charles John Corto wrote this song, and it's about Geronimo was held captive in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And the way I envision it, the governor of the Oklahoma Territory was driving his brand new Cadillac convertible one day down a dusty dirt road in southwestern Oklahoma, and he remembered that Geronimo was up there, and they wanted to get a photograph. And they drove on up and into the yard and took this picture. And the year was 1905. It wasn't really a Cadillac, but Murphy saw the photograph, him and 3 of his friends, and Geronimo was wearing a top hat, and he was stared in the lens of the camera, and he stared into history. Just goes to show you, young whippersnapper out there today, next time you get your picture taken, put your best face forward, because you too may end up in the Smithsonian Institution, just like Geronimo did. And this is a story about Geronimo and his Cadillac. They put Geronimo in jail down south where he couldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Sergeant, Sergeant, don't you feel something's wrong with your automobile? Governor, Governor, isn't it strange how you never see a car out on that Indian range? Warden, Warden, listen to me, be brave and set Geronimo free. Oh, boys, take me back, I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back, I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Help me sing it. Oh, boys, take me back, I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back, I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. took old Geronimo by storm, and they ripped off the feathers from his uniform. White man, don't you know? The Indians, they got no place to go. Well, Jesus told me, and I believe that it's true. The red men, the white men, the black men, the brown men are in the sunrise too. We ripped off his land, we didn't give it back, and we sent Geronimo a Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. You sing it. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac now. Oh, yeah. Oh, I wanna ride. Come on, boy. You got 'em on the run. Let's mow 'em down. Woo-hoo. Hey, oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. You sing it. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in his Cadillac. Big ending. Oh, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo. I wanna ride in Geronimo Cadillac. That's right.
Yeah.
I want to ride. Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Perfect.
All right.
Great.